And that experience was kind of my first eye-opener of, oh my gosh, I could do something with this. I could actually make the national team and then be able to travel and see what happened with that. And so in the summer of '97, I was invited to train with the U.S. national team in Chula Vista. And again, it was kind of like this next level and another eye-opening experience of, oh, this is out here. You don't really know until you just make the next step. And again, the people are the same. They love the sport. They're passionate about the sport. We had really great times. We also had tears and really tough times, but it was what brought us together, that teamwork that that was just kind of fed my soul and fed my passion for the sport. Again, the facilities were a little bit nicer, the support, etc. It just kind of it moves on up, but the actual spirit involved is the same all the way through, and I think that's what has kept me going. So for the next 3 years, from '97 to 2000, I lived at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista, California. I worked as a yard duty and office support at the local elementary school because I knew then you needed a life after rowing, so I was working on my teaching credential because I wanted to teach elementary school. And so I would train in the morning for 2 to 3 hours, go work yard duty part-time during the day, and do some office support, and then come back for afternoon training in the afternoon. In the Olympic year, this is kind of our training schedule for the Olympic year, and the practices got longer, both morning and afternoon, and then they tucked in some extra practices as well with weight training and running. So it was a pretty intense schedule. And while what kept me going through that is the day when I said I don't want to be doing this anymore, then that was the day that I told myself that I was done, that I didn't need to do it. Because I wasn't making a lot of money. There wasn't a whole lot of other things that I knew that would set me forward in terms of life. But that day didn't come because I loved the sport and I had the support of my family to continue with the work. So in 1997, when I first arrived at the training center, my goal, as I mentioned, was to make the World Championship team. And that year I did it. I made the women's 8 and we placed 6th in Germany. And that was a really amazing experience to be able to travel to Germany. But as I mentioned, I wanted to do better, see what else I could do. And so I continued to train and fought for another seat in the boat. And in 1998, we went to Aguilette, France, and placed 2nd in the World Rowing Championships there. And then went on to St. Catharines the following year, St. Catharines, Canada, and placed 2nd again at the World Championships, each year losing to Romania by a smaller and smaller, basically a seat in the boat. But we felt like we were closing the gap. So we headed into the Olympic year, and it's once you are kind of in that sequence, it never gets easier. Like people still come in, you're fighting for your seat, you're fighting to make that boat, so that part never changes. But we just had this kind of commitment that as much of that boat as would stay together, we were going after Romania for the Olympics. So in 1999, when I realized I had a decent chance at making the Olympic team, we continued to train very intensely. And in July of 2000, our coach named the boat, and I ended up making the 5 seat in the women's 8. And it was an incredible experience. So just that sense of, this is what I hadn't set out to do it, that this is where I ended up, and it was incredible. The Olympic experience was phenomenal. Imagine the whole world, kind of a compartmentalized version of the world coming together where everyone has made their dreams, has reached kind of the pinnacle of their event and their sport, the culmination of a very long journey of hard work. And so just the energy in the Olympic Village was pretty amazing. You can see that through opening ceremonies and just the nature of the games themselves. In our Olympic race, we ended up racing 3 times in Sydney. In our heat, we choked, basically. We did not have our Olympic race. And so then we went to the repechage, which is our second, the second chance to make the final. We had a much better race there. We kind of pulled it together. And then we went on to the final. And the final, I have to say, it was disappointing to say the least, because you imagine that your Olympic race is going to be your best race. Your Olympic race has to be your best race. But for us, it wasn't. We choked. And it was a really hard, it was a very difficult experience in that sense, combining this incredible experience of reaching your dreams with not doing how well you had planned or wished for. But in hindsight, I wouldn't have traded a single bit of the journey. The journey was absolutely incredible. I think you had asked if rowing opens doors. It absolutely opens doors. So it opens doors in terms of friendships, in terms of the people you meet. I continue to stay in touch with so many of my friends from Rice, from Wisconsin, from the national team, because that has shaped so much of who I am and the work that I've done. And I did wonder, one of my fears, kind of thinking about, and this was a fear for all of us when we finished the Olympics in 2000, was this the end of our story? Is this the end of our chapter? You know, what's next? And so there's just kind of this sense of, is that it? But it's not. And so I think living proof of that is my family that's here. This is what it's all about, is my girls and my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, that we can all be here together. And that's, to me, is what life is all about. So when I think about Roll Like a Girl, I don't necessarily want my girls to be rowers. They don't have to be rowers, but I want them to find their passion, their whatever drives them, so that whether it's piano, whether it is rowing, whether it's basketball or swimming or playing the guitar, but that they find their thing and that they make the most of it. To me, that's rowing like a girl. And so thank you very much. It took some time. I mean, it definitely took time. But I think what I want to emphasize is while there were hard days and there were days that I didn't want to go to practice, there was never the drudgery. I didn't get really negative about it. So as long as it's enjoyable through the rough and the difficult practices, then it's well worth pursuing. Because when we were at Rice, they were all just different levels, and I progressed through those levels, but I think very focused on my own performance, and so less about what everyone else is doing, but how am I going to contribute to this boat and to this team.
I just want to add, when you were at Rice, we actually did compare your times to with the national team. Remember, we submitted your work scores on an ongoing basis.
That's true.
And got you sort of discovered already then.
So I already had some that I didn't just call Wisconsin. But you can submit your rowing scores through the national team ranking system.